Hey y'all, it's your girl Jamekia coming back to you. And listen, I just gotta tell y'all exactly what we talked about today in Black Coffee, Honey, and Grits. So y'all see I already got my little shirt on. Support. Today was a good day, and the conversation in the room was a magnificent one. So ultimately, my girl Maisha was the one who led the room today, and one of the questions that was on the floor is, what did your father teach you about protection? That was one, and then another question was like, do you trust men? So that's what she started, right? For us ladies, well, do you trust men? And so of course some of us were like yes, some of us was like no, and then kind of trying to figure out where that came from, because a lot of how we respond and what we do, excuse me y'all, my little lotto tickets. Look, I gotta cash it in, it is a winner. So a lot of the way that we respond in relationships and in community with other individuals is based off of our what we've experienced as we grew up, right? What we experienced as children. And so of course for me, I was like, yes, I definitely trust men. And we kind of dove into some of those things. So some of the things that I was talking about, I was like, for me, my father was that nigga. I'm gonna say it like I wanted to say it on there. My dad was that nigga. Like, he was the ace boom coon. He was the man, right? And as I was growing up, my father could do no wrong to me, or in any sphere, any aspect, he could do no wrong. He was everything and anything that I needed. He was a great provider. He was a friend. He was a confidant. He was someone I could communicate with. And we both, of course, we needed each other. And I knew from a young age that there were some things that I was very aware of, and I felt like, hey, maybe this isn't the best. So one of the things, and because I don't want y'all to be sitting up there trying to figure it out in your head, what's she talking about, whatever else. I'm gonna tell y'all my business, because that's what I do. But I also, some things is my business, and it ain't yours. So if it ain't none of your business, it ain't none of your business. But one of my things that I was talking about, I was like, for me, my father was an amazing individual, and especially as a child. As an adult, there were some things that I uncovered that for me that didn't sit well, or that came up as realization, and I know that ultimately it was a reflection on how I chose men in my life. And so, and I'm gonna get into most of it. Look, I'm gonna get into some of it. I'm gonna get into what I want to share. So again, my dad was a great provider. Anything that I ever wanted and needed, he made sure that I had it. Sometimes, of course, as any parent, sometimes your money may not be exactly where it needs to be at that particular moment, but nevertheless, I always got what I wanted at the end of the day. And so of course, for me, it taught me that sometimes you have to work hard, you have to be diligent about certain things that you want and what you want to do. Not everything will be provided for you immediately, but it's not said that even though it's delayed, it won't happen. It will. So of course, that was something that was instilled in me from a young age, and we kind of discussed that as well in the group, where with children, you're taught, with individuals, right? As a child, you're taught some things specifically directly to you, and then there's some things that you pick up along the way that is just you learn through seeing and experiencing and all of those things. So of course, like I said, that was some of the things that I learned. Like, my dad was always there. For the most part, when he had to show up, he showed up. If he had the finances were provided. He would have conversations with me. I even told him, I was like, my mother taught me how to be a woman, but my father taught me how to be a lady. There were certain things that he specifically sat down with me and explained to me and made sure that I understood. He made sure that I communicated. He he made sure I expressed myself in certain areas, because, you know, of course, he gave me options. He gave me options, and in my mother's household, it wasn't so much. My mom was more militant. It was her way or the highway. It was no choices. You get what I give you. As for my dad, it's like, say for instance, if it's time to eat, my mom be like, hey, I'm making baked chicken, green beans, yellow rice. If you're hungry, you eat. If not, drink you some water, go to bed. That was my mother's household. In my father's household, it's like, hey, what do you want? Do you want chicken? Do you want pork chops? We can bake it. We can fry it. What do you know? What you want to eat with this? Do you want white rice, yellow rice? Do you want this? You know, it was all these options. So, of course, I lived in these two dualities, but it was very much so needed for me to be able to be the person who I am today, and be able to express myself and understand it, and to have communication with other individuals, and even down to reprimanding, right? With being reprimanded as a child, my mother was one of those no nonsense people. So it was like, you didn't do this, okay, here's the whooping. I'm gonna whoop you, move on. My father was more so, let's have a conversation. What happened? You know, this, you know, he would give me all these other scenarios. What if this? What if that? This is some of the consequences. This is whatever. Like you have punishment, but it is, you know, the removal of certain things, or it's a long conversation. Mostly, it was a conversation. I would be standing up for maybe anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour, sometimes more than that, where he's just drilling me and talking to me about certain things. And it wasn't anything mean or rude or vicious, but it was just like, for me as a child, I was like, just beat me and get it over with. Like, the whooping only lasts 2 minutes, if that. Look, you get your lashes and you go on about your business. But again, having that balance was definitely an eye-opener as far as now as an adult, seeing certain things and understanding certain things. But when talking about protection, so she asked, you know, did you feel protected? And I was like, of course I did. My father was one of those people who, you know, he would just be like, who is it? What's happening? What's going on? I'm showing up. When I was at school, I remember coming home and crying because the teacher wrote me up. I'd never been wrote up. I was in 5th grade, and I went to the school from kindergarten to 5th grade. So I had never been written up, and I was like, well, she wrote me up and she yelled at me, but she never listened to my side of the story. I was like, this girl is behind me. I might come around and tell y'all this story again, but it was literally my cousin. And it was a mess. But jealousy will do that sometimes. But I was like, this girl was behind me, and I told him exactly who it is. It was my cousin. I was like, she was behind me. She was stepping on the back of my shoes. I was like, I kept, you know, trying to move around. Every time I moved, she'd do something else. She tripped me up. And I was like, and then I kept saying, please stop, stop, stop. And I was like, by the 4th or 5th time, now I'm yelling. I'm like, stop doing that, you know? And so I got in trouble, and I understand getting in trouble for the simple fact of, you know, you're talking and you're not supposed to be talking in the hallway. However, I also felt that there should have been a conversation. Like, I shouldn't have had to pull multiple cards or whatever else because of someone else's lack of understanding my boundaries. And dang, now I got a whole new story for that now. Like, I could put that on different things. Okay. Anyway, y'all. But I was like, I didn't understand that. And so my dad came down. He went to the school. He had a conversation with the assistant principal. And I just remember, because we were like, he was furious at what had happened. And of course, like, I think back then it was like 3 cards, and then he got written up. And I had already had one of my own, but then that incident gave me 2 cards, and so I was getting written up, and it was like, you get written up, you miss out on, you know, these little activities that they would have at the end of the month and whatever else. And so, of course, he went down, he had this conversation with them. They were like, you know, she never gets in trouble, it's just a warning, you know, blah, 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 blah. whatever have you. But I remember him being so furious and mad, and he punched the pole, and it had a little dent in it. I was like, damn, my dad is strong. But that was my protector. And when I had other incidents that came through where I was like, hey, this person did this to me or said this to me or whatever, my dad was there to partially fight my battles, right? Or if he was not there to fight my battles, he gave me permission and the ability and the words to express myself and to know how to manage myself with other individuals, especially, you know, when it came to the difference between dealing with a child and dealing with an adult. If it's something that's a child, then yeah, you learn how to manage it and handle that on your own. And if it gets out of the way, then I'll talk to this person's parent, and it's a parent thing. But with adults, it's like you say what you have to say, but I'm also here to back you up in these areas or whatever have you. So it was just a great conversation, you know. And then she started to extend it and was like, well, how did you see your dad protect your mother? And I was like, I don't think I've seen that. Like, I can't say with that word protection. I was like, I can't really say that. And one of the other ladies talked, and she was just kind of saying how, you know, her mother was one of those people who wouldn't allow for a man to really protect her, right? Wouldn't allow, you know, different things or whatever else. And I was like, my mother was the same. My mother she was that lady. Look, she was that chick, you know? And so I don't think I saw a point where she really needed that protection. And I think because in her own space, her own life, and just living, you know, she had to learn how to protect herself. So again, when I say my mother taught me to be a woman, she taught me how to stand up for myself, how to be determined, how to you know, carry yourself a certain way so that people understand that this is how you respond to me. These are my boundaries. This is how you will treat me and speak to me no matter what. And so that was definitely a necessity too as well. So I learned how to be a woman from her and how to hold my own, right? And much of that was both verbal but more so seen, and there was little direction with it, but just the way that she carried herself through life. But I told her, I was like, if you were to say how he showed love, I was like, now that would be different, because love and protection, although they hold each other up, they're both pillars, right, to great parenting, to great relationship or whatever have you as well. I was like, to me, I don't think my mother allowed herself to be that vulnerable in some instances in order for the others to really step up and be that role of protection. And again, this is from a child's point of view. Like, I don't remember it, is all I'm saying. Not to say that it never happened. And then, but love, I definitely knew my parents, even with them being separated and, you know, no longer together or whatever have you. I saw the love that was still there, both in good stages and in toxic stages, both not being able, you know, to communicate properly and different things like that. I think lack of communication played a major role in their relationship. And I also had, you know, one of the other ladies was talking about that, the way that their parents communicated, or the lack of communication, is what also pulled them away. So that definitely was something to speak about. And then, of course, how all these things play a role in the relationships that we formulate now with other individuals, whether it is, you know, romantic relationship, or whether it is a relationship of friendship and community, because I'm very big on community and how men show up for me. And of course, I'm in a program. I think all great teachers, all great speakers, all great professionals have those others who assist them and teach them as well. And so I'm also in a program, with a personal development program, with dealing with relationships and strengthening relationships and identifying certain areas of weakness or flaws. And within that course, well, let's back up. Prior to taking the course, I've already been doing my shadow work, and you guys can catch my video as well, where I talked about shadow work and what it is and whatever else. And I may come back around to it and give you guys some journal prompts and things to look at. Y'all tell me what y'all looking for, you know, what y'all need help with, because I want to make sure that it's beneficial, of course, to you, and it meets your needs. So I've done the shadow work and identifying things that previously I was unaware of. And within those courses, I think it started maybe about 3 years ago, where I started really diving into. I've always been doing work. Don't worry about that. That has always happened. But about 3 years ago, I believe, I really started to dig into certain things that I was hiding from myself, being more aware of how I communicate with people, of how, you know, when I get into certain relationships, romantic relationships and friendships, how I show up and how others need me to show up, and those, how to maintain boundaries and all these different things. Some things I was already great at, some things I needed a little bit more fine tuning and work. But even with me doing my own work, you sometimes there's certain things that you can't see. Even a great doctor, a great surgeon can't perform surgery on themselves. And so I joined this other community, and I'll probably talk about it a little later once I finish the program. I joined this great community, and it's about making sure that I have men in my life, that an army of men that provide for me, that help me, that listen to me, that caters to me, whatever it is that I need. It's provided, and it's women too, because I'm in relationship with all individuals, right? I am very big on community. Y'all hear me talk about it all the time. Black Coffee, Honey, Grits. This is a part of my community, and I'm consistently building that community, and we feed each other. You know, and it's very reciprocal as far as energy goes, and it's necessary. We need that, because sometimes we get into romantic relationships and friendships and we are trying to pull out of those relationships things that other people are things that other people can provide for us. And so, you know, I'm very big on knowing that I need someone who's going to challenge me. And I usually call that person, like, you know, you need an adversary. You need someone who's going to push you to your next level. In this community, you know, the one that I just joined, she's very big on saying that you need a cheerleader. I've had cheerleaders, but that's not to say that I was highly aware of that position. And so now it's about me being very cognizant in making sure that I have people who cheer me on in whatever endeavor that I'm in. And so that is important to me, right? So now I have I'm still building my team, but now I'm looking at it to be more intentional, right? Intentional about the individuals that I have and the roles that they play, and how they can help me. And hers is a little bit more detailed than my own, which is really good, because I need those things, and I need to be able to reproduce those things as well. And so but I always believe you need someone there that you can talk to, who you feel comfortable with, who's not going to judge you, who's non-judgmental. You need somebody there who maybe is a prayer warrior, or who is your spiritual guidance, or, you know, spiritual coach, or whatever you want to say, religious, you know, backing. Again, however you look at it, I've always believed in that. I believe that you need someone in your own realm, like career-wise, someone who is in that field, who is a little bit above you, or someone who is your peer. I always think you need somebody that's above and somebody that's equal to you. Everybody in my book is equal to me. Don't get it twisted. But you need a peer who works and does specifically something similar to what you do. And you need someone who's also in a place where they can be in rooms that you're not in, that they can bring your name into spaces that you may never have been thought about. So I believe that building community is very important, and we'll get to that on another episode. But like I was saying, I like the course that I'm in, because it's helping me to be a little bit more specific in certain things. And of course, while I'm building this community, I'm making sure that I keep it balanced with both the masculine and feminine energies, but also with having men and women, because just because you have men and women doesn't mean that the masculine and feminine energy has to be directed to only one sex. Both men and women carry both the masculine and feminine energy, but understanding who's doing what and how they are feeding into you. And like I said earlier, my mother taught me how to be a woman, so she was the feminine energy, but my father taught me how to be a lady, so that feminine energy that is withheld within the masculine, it's just a little bit different. It's a little bit subtle, and it engages you differently than the feminine, who has a strong masculine energy as well. So it's all about the balancing of it. But definitely this morning, when I tell y'all, the conversation was oh so delicious, and people talking about their fathers and how they showed up, or maybe how they did it, and how the lack of their father being there maybe either aided in them being a better person, or how it and when I say aided in them being a better person, because I don't want to say it's not them not being a better, but how they show up for other people and how they show up for themselves. I had a few people who were like, there were a few people in the room who were like, my father, one person said, my father was a gambler and he wasn't responsible. So for me, it taught me that I have to be more responsible for myself and those who are around me, those who I take care of as a man. And the other thing was like, what was said, that their father, took care of everything and was a great provider, physically a great provider, but may not have nurtured them. So that was lacking, or once he passed away, it left them in a place where they were unable to carry on some of the things that he once did. So you guys, it was just very good and interesting, and to see it all. And of course, for me, it made me really want to think about the simple fact of like, I definitely just want men to understand how important they are and how important their roles are. And so they're important, period, right? As an individual, you are important, you are needed, you are loved, you are appreciated, especially those that are in my sphere. Because I hope I tell them enough, and I hope I show it enough, because I definitely believe so, right? I do, from the bottom of my heart. I love each and every gentleman that is around me, that just shows up for me, that shows up for themselves and allows me to share and co-create with them, because it's so many beautiful black men in my sphere. And y'all know I love y'all. But also how these men are very important in their household, in the roles that they play, and how them not being there is interesting as well, right? Because it shows and teaches communication. It shows and teaches how to protect and what to expect. And of course, what I learned too in this room was that most of the men, they make sure that they show up and they protect and provide for their daughters, even if they don't do it for their significant others. And that's I'm glad But that's a little bit of the disconnect that I think I want to explore, as well as I continue on my journey, and understanding the understanding of that, because I definitely know it's great to be protected and it's great to protect your children, but that person who you marry, who you call your better half or your other half, or that person you decide to take this journey with, like, I don't know. I got so many. I've had so many thoughts previously, and I guess that's why me and my idea of relationships are very particular, because when I commit, and y'all gonna hear about it because y'all know I'm on my journey. But when I truly do commit, like, I want us to be 100% whole individuals that come together, that makes us so much more powerful and unstoppable, and that we show up for each other with our strengths and our weaknesses, you know. And I don't even want to say weaknesses, I want to say our deltas, because the areas where we can provide change for each other, changing in an exchange, right? So y'all see my car done stop moving, so I'm on my way to my next destination right after this. Y'all know your girl stay busy, but I'm excited, and the conversation was good. If maybe I'll put the thing in the description. It probably won't be immediate, so if I don't, somebody remind me. But I'm gonna come back around to this and so many other things. Like, I got so much I want to talk about, y'all, and trying to figure out where to start and when and how and whatever else, but it's coming. Don't worry, just stay tuned. So for you, please go up above, click subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell, ring the bell, turn on the bell, so that anytime I post something, you guys will be the first ones to know. Down below, like, share, comment. Y'all know I asked y'all a couple different questions. If not, here go one. What did your father teach you about protection? So that's a good one. What did your father teach you about protection? So go down below, y'all. Look, type. Look, get me, holla at your girl. I want to know. I want to know your business, okay? But I'm gonna see y'all later, and I love y'all. Bye.